John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast. John Anik and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John Anik and Kenny Florian.
Next shot, bang.
Oh, come on, Ken Flo. Pay-per-view week. Can you hear me? We got boots on the ground in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Ken Flo, it's good to see you, red hat. My man.
Let's go, dude. Montreal, amazing city. Obviously would go there for training camps and train over at TriStar with Fiorot Sahabi. His brother, Eamon, who was one of my training partners for Jose Aldo, is fighting Jose Aldo. Just a really fun city, man. A lot to talk about, both from this weekend's card and what's coming. So can't wait.
Here a little bit early for some other work. What a great city. I think I had the best butter croissant of my life this afternoon. Some salmon fried rice in the room as I was getting ready for the podcast, but we were very excited for UFC 315. Great to have everybody with us live on the DraftKings YouTube channel or wherever and however you may be ingesting the show. It is episode 549 of the Anik and Florian podcast. Sunday, May 4th, 2025 is the year. Anik and Florian podcast presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. How was your weekend, kid?
I had a great weekend, man. I was in the mountains of Virginia, racing around in vintage Porsches, and that was a lot of fun, dude. My eyes are like bloodshot red from all the fumes going into my eyes. I swear that's what it's from. No, it is. But yeah, so I'm exhausted, but I'm looking forward to talking with you, man. It was a lot of driving, a lot of intense driving.
And then less intense driving home to get ready for the podcast, I guess, huh?
A little bit. There was an accident that happened. Thankfully, that person is okay. It could have not been okay very easily. So he had the hand of God on him today. Let's put it that way. And thankfully, that person is okay. And very thankful. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I actually am. You know what I'm looking at over Zoom on Wednesday, Kenny? Maybe I shouldn't talk about this. Dr. Gus Florian, you got anything? I know you're not a lawyer, you're a doctor, but it says here, State of Florida versus Jonathan Matthew Anik. Got a pre-trial hearing, so I'm going to do it over Zoom. But, yeah, unlawful speeding, I think, in the state of Florida when I had colitis, so I think we'll be okay. But I guess if you go a certain miles per hour over the speed limits, it is deemed unlawful. They won't just give you a ticket. I said, officer, I haven't been pulled over in a number of years, sir. I have ulcerative colitis. No, I didn't. At that point, I didn't have my diagnosis, but as is well documented, we were double antibiotics. Not that, you should be going that fast, but yeah, it just made me think of fast driving, but we're glad everybody's okay. And we're glad that everybody's with us live. We have a lot to get to, boxing and mixed martial arts. Cheers to everybody being with us live. Ken Flo, did you watch any boxing? What did you ingest this weekend? I saw very little of the boxing.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the boxing, man. I was, I guess, busy riding cars and watching UFC fights, man. That's more important.
Always doing dangerous things. All right, well, coming up in about 26 minutes, if everything goes as planned, as he arrives here in Montreal, we are scheduled to be joined live by the undisputed UFC Welterweight Champion, Belal. Remember the name Muhammad Ray Longo, 15 minutes thereafter. And then Ken Flo's got 6 predictions for you alongside Brian Petrie on the way out for UFC 315, Muhammad versus Della Maddalena. Ken Flo, do you know the 2 headliners the last time the UFC was here in Montreal? UFC 186, 2015, if my research is accurate. It's a long time.
What? I have no idea.
Why would you? I just fucking looked it up. Why would you? Demetrius Johnson versus the soon-to-be returning Kyoji Horiguchi.
Wow. Interesting. What about the one before that?
Come on, Kenny. It wasn't UFC 83. No, I think we were there in 2010.
Okay.
Well, we were there several times. I think.
Yeah.
I think we were there for Shogun Hu and Lyoto Machida. Does that
Okay.
sound right?
Yeah. That.
Anyway, also want to point you to some other programming we did. So Anik and Florian Rewind exclusively for those of you on UFC Fight Pass. And this is not to promote that vehicle per se, as much as it is to alert you to our film study. We look back at Manon Valentina, Jack Della Maddalena, and Belal Muhammad. Some of their early fight footage, some more recent stuff, all sorts of things for you over on UFC Fight Pass. But yeah, enough about that. Let us get into it. Headlines brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. What a big weekend, or I guess I should say couple of big weekends in a row for the combat sports leader in the Midwest. How about the buzz in Des Moines, Iowa? I mean, you want to talk about the UFC not being at a place for a long time, right? How about first trip to the great state of Iowa since UFC 26 in June of 2000? And with much fanfare, Ken Flo, UFC and Corey Sandhagen deliver.
Absolutely. And Iowa has such a rich history of obviously wrestling, but even combat sports. I mean, so many great fighters have come from that area. And I know that they are rabid MMA fans, and it sounded like it over the weekend. That was really cool. Sandhagen is just on point. I mean, first of all, went out there, immediately established the proper range. Seemed like he was really tuned in from the get-go, was sharp, was accurate, was relaxed. And also had bad intentions with everything he was doing out there. And that's exactly what you need to do against someone like Deiveson Figueiredo, who's a very dangerous fighter in his own right. Landed a couple shots, or at least it looked like when I saw it live, looked like he landed some good strikes. But ultimately, Corey Sandhagen just way too much skill and versatility in that fight.
So preparation has been a benchmark of Corey Sandhagen's success, you know, and I hate to suggest that for any fighter, it's an eventuality that you'll fight for the undisputed championship. He fought Petr Yan for the interim championship, right? But even when there have been missteps or surprising quick losses to Aljamain Sterling, even if that loss would have been more acceptable had it gone a little bit longer, you know, he's always sort of responded in kind. And I don't want to get ahead of the fight before we get to what actually happens sequentially here. But I really hope that Corey at this point just waits and is granted that opportunity to fight for the undisputed championship. There are a lot of big fights that a lot of fight fans, big fight fans, rabid fight fans want to see him in. But nobody better to talk us through, I guess, what happened at the end of the fight than you. What do you have for us on that unfortunate moment for Deiveson Figueiredo, but largely caused by Corey?
Absolutely. And I think it's super important as a fighter, or if you want to be good at anything, you have to be very honest with yourself about where your skill level is at, what you need to improve on, go out and seek the help that you need. And Corey Sandhagen is that guy. I've always been impressed with his assessment of his performances and what he needs to do to get better. And I think we saw him level up here in this fight. In regards to that move, that is directly influenced and taught by Ryan Hall. That has been his specialty since he was in jiu-jitsu. Certainly has used that to great effect in mixed martial arts as well. And it's a position that I think is often misunderstood, and Ryan knows that position inside and out. Corey Sandhagen did a great job of deflecting the weight of Deiveson Figueiredo. So when he had that leg in that 50-50, where the leg is kind of going across the body, you know, he did a great job of tucking underneath, like between the legs. You know, anytime Deiveson tried to face him or punch him, he was always going a different way. And he put a lot of torque on that inside of the knee, John. So as he was getting up, he pushed his knee down towards the mat where the ankle was straight up. So effectively doing like an inside heel hook type motion to that knee. Deiveson was not ready for it. It certainly looked like he popped the inside of his knee. And yeah, I mean, Corey was using that specifically to try to sweep him. It does put a whole lot of torque on that knee. It looked like Deiveson was resisting, and as a result, got injured.
So Deiveson Figueiredo got off to an outstanding start when he moved up to the bantamweight division, but this probably closes the championship door for him at 135 pounds. I just think when you looked at this matchup, right, and we looked at the bloated betting line, there were a lot of people, yourself probably among them, that just felt skill for skill that this was going to be a really uphill battle, regardless of, you know, this fight ending circumstance or what might have happened a minute or a second later.
It's not to diminish the skill of Deiveson Figueiredo, because I do think he's a very skillful fighter. But I think that physicality, the size, the strength that he had at flyweight was significant enough that it really he was that much more of a problem in that weight class. And bantamweight, first of all, the skill level is just insane. It might be the most technical division in the UFC, certainly one of them. And it was a very tough stylistic matchup for him for sure.
All right, so Corey Sandhagen fought Umar Nurmagomedov when not a lot of people wanted to, right? And sort of put his ranking on the line. I guess I wouldn't say like Sean Strickland against Alex Pineda because Umar was creeping, right? But Sandhagen twice signed to fight Umar Nurmagomedov, right?
Yep.
He's fought Petr Yan, but he has never fought the two men who June 7th compete for the Bantamweight Championship, Merab Dvalishvili and Sean O'Malley. So sometimes the calendar just aligns. And with respect to Petr Yan, who obviously beat Davison and who is right there and very relevant, I don't know what comes down to these type of decisions when it's, say, Petr Yan versus Corey Sandhagen. But wouldn't you think at this point in time, especially if it's Merab in theory and he turns quickly, that this is the fresh guy and the fight that fans would want to see?
I think so. I think it would be a great fight. I think another important thing is not only the calendar aligning, but the matchup aligning. I think that I think Corey matches up maybe the best against Sean O'Malley from a striking perspective and his length and size and all that stuff. Maybe not as well against someone like a Merab, right? So, yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens if he does take a fight before that contender. I mean, he may have to, just with all the competition out there. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? So Sean O'Malley's the number 1 ranked contender, Petr Yan number 2, right? I mean, you're not going to run it back with Yan and Sandhagen right now, I wouldn't think.
Right.
Nor, I don't think, would you run it back with Umar and Sandhagen, right? Like, who would have the upper hand between Umar and Sandhagen in terms of the inside track for a title shot, right? I would.
Right.
This is the thing, right? It's like availability is your best friend in mixed martial arts, right?
Yep.
And Umar, I think, is on the mend right now. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. And then, of course, if Sean O'Malley becomes the champion on June 7th, how likely is he to turn around, say, Madison Square Garden, whereas I can say without even talking to the man that Merab is trying to fight every 3 months and fight the most deserving guy, right? So, yeah, well, we congratulate Corey Sandhagen. He's a good guy. And, it's interesting to see his sort of social media tone change in the lead up to this fight. But I think he's a man who has the respect of the people who matter in this sport, people like you and Ryan Hall and his fellow fighters, his contemporaries. So, it's good to see a guy like that shine. He's gone about his business the right way, I think,
Yeah, definitely, man. Super skilled, super smart. And I do think he'll fight for the belt in the near future.
Good egg. Congratulations to Corey Sandhagen. Plenty more coming up on Sandhagen with Longo later. But how about Rainier the fucking Ritter, Ken Flo? RDR, like if I'm RDA, right? You know where I'm going, right? Is that why you're laughing?
Yes.
Yeah, what do you think I'm going to say? I'm saying if I'm RDA, I'm like, fuck, man. I don't need this guy to be Superman, Rafael Dos Anjos is the man, but RDR. There might be a quarter of an hour that we spend on Bo Nickel, but Ken Flo, it's Rainier de Ritter. The record says by TKO, knees. There was a knee to the body in there. Several. It comes at the 153 mark around 2. Your thoughts?
I may have been feeling some of those knees. Those knees looked brutal. And it's always interesting to see when a dominant fighter gets hurt for the first time, how they respond physically. What are the telltale signs? What's their body language like? And Bo Nickel just could not hide it. It takes practice. It takes experience. And it was clear that he still doesn't have that just yet. And we also found out that RDR, Rainier de Ritter, is a handful for anyone in that division. He is legit. He is versatile. He is huge for the division. He made Bo Nickel look very small. And he just looked on point, man. He's going to be a problem.
Strength of schedule, championship medal, all outside the UFC, all boxes that he checked. And I think that his credentials sort of dovetail with the betting line being as close as it was relative to where I guess Bo Nickel was at. Kenny, there is so much to get into on this. And I am going to live in Bo Nickel before we spin it forward for Rainier de Ritter, who I think wisely called out Sean Strickland. So Bo Nickel recently has chimed in on Instagram, grateful for the highs and lows. I'll be back. And I have no doubt he'll be back. I think there is definitely a fighter ingrained within, and I didn't have enough time in my UFC 315 prep to sort of look back at some of his wrestling losses and how he responded to those. I'm sure he responded quite well, but he likes the fight. I don't think he minds getting hurt, but gosh, like where do we begin, right? And I do have some quotes from some people out there. So Luke Thomas said his development is not going correctly, sort of insinuating that his development hasn't dovetailed with the hype for Bo Nickel. It exploded, all of it. There's no place left to hide. I have a tweet that I want to read from Henry Cejudo, if I could.
Yeah.
The wrestling world is taking a hit today. Keep your head up, Bo Nickel. This is not the end. I got finished by Demetrius Johnson with a similar body shot, and I went on to avenge that loss and become champion. You are capable of doing the same. Get back on your horse, brother. And it will be interesting in terms of the mechanisms and the training, what might change, right? Because, you know, even though he has been brought along deliberately and liberally, you know, he is enough years into this thing where this litmus test, not only was it not passed, but there are a lot of people who feel like it's wicked concerning relative to now his trajectory and his ceiling.
I don't see it that way. And I think we talked about it on the last show where I said, you know, if he loses this one, this is one where he can learn from it, as opposed to kind of getting to that championship shot and kind of not doing so hot, and then having difficult match after difficult match after difficult match. He has been taking the right fights at the right time. I think this one, he was a little over his head, but this is the fight where you're going to find out about yourself and what you need to improve on. And I think Bo Nickel is going to come back stronger. There's no question in my mind. I love that tweet from Henry Cejudo. And you look at it, the experience difference between Rainier and Bo Nickel, it's significant, John. So I don't see a big problem. This is a little hiccup on his way. You know, everyone thinks you have to be undefeated to be an amazing fighter for some reason. A lot of times you can hide behind an undefeated record as well. And I think Bo Nickel will be better for sure.
So he'd be a very interesting guy to talk to. I wanted to give him a little bit of breathing room, right? But in terms of everything that goes into not just living up to the hype, right? But like maintaining your wrestling at the highest level, right? Making sure that it's the best in MMA, right? Whether you have an amateur background like his or none like George St. Pierre, you know? So there are no easy outs in this middleweight division. I think that's where I align with Luke and other talking heads who say, all right, you know, I mean, Jamie Pickett's not walking through that door now. Who do you like? Who do you like at 185 pounds? So if I were to ask you before we get back to Rainier to fucking Ritter, like, do you think Bo Nickel you still see him all in, chips in the center of the table? Like if I said Anik and Florian poll question, does Bo Nickel one day fight for the title? You still say yes.
I still say yes. Absolutely. This isn't a guy with 30 fights, 20 fights. He just came into the UFC not too long ago. Yes, he's been very dominant in what we've seen from him, but he's still a developing fighter. So he made a poor choice, I think, in going for that guillotine in round one. He was winging some punches at the end. You know, there was some physical body language that I think was harmful to him. You know, when a fighter knows that you're hurt and you're kind of in trouble there, and Rainier knew exactly what he needed to do to finish him. So huge difference in experience level and skill level. And I think Bo Nickel with the right fights again, will come back and he will fight for the belt and maybe even be a belt holder.
You got to think and yes, you talked about it last week. There's so much good to be extracted from this loss for Bo, right? Yeah. Certainly you can argue that it has more value than any number of his MMA wins.
Yes.
But my gosh, man, you know, like, I know there were a lot of people out there who felt like Rainier de Ritter was a live underdog, and maybe my body language suggests that I wasn't one of them. I just believed, and I shouldn't say past tense, I believe in Bo Nickel. And, you know, I mean, this is an appreciable setback. And I think sort of, I understand, maybe we respectfully disagree. I just think like, dude, best of luck 4, 5, 6 months from now, whoever's in your bracket, you know, Jesus Christ, man. But, you know.
Oh, no, and it's especially tough for those people who weren't on the Bo Nickel train, right? And there were a lot of people out there that said, you know, he hasn't fought anybody. He's, you know, done this and that. And then here he is. He tripped on this fight here against RDR, and people are going to be saying, no, there's no way he's going to be able to make it. So I don't know. I'm definitely more optimistic on his chances of fighting for the belt, but it all comes down to how he responds to this challenge, and I think he's used to that from wrestling.
Well, those who thought it was ludicrous to suggest that he was ready for someone like Khamzat Chimaev at this stage of his career, maybe, they're the ones who get the last laugh on that front, but that's really not what it was about. And I think a lot of people weren't even going to that length. But how good can Reinier de Ridder be, right? Like, losses can age gracefully. And if you're Kevin Holland or somebody else that Reinier de Ridder has put in the rearview mirror, this is maybe a time where you puff out your chest a little bit. How good can Reinier de Ridder be potentially across two divisions?
Well, he is certainly championship material. I love the call out of Sean Strickland. I mean, that's how you fast track your way to a middleweight belt. And I think that he's looked very dangerous in a variety of areas. His striking was completely on point. Just the weapon of choice of where he was hurting Bo Nickel. He knew by just throwing that knee down the middle that he was going to basically hurt the body or thwart any kind of level change or double leg from Bo Nickel. So I thought it was smart on a couple different fronts, but he's a guy that might be able to win the belt, John.
So we're sitting here live on a Sunday night. Reinier de Ridder, RDR, sorry, RDA, is number 13 in the world, right? So I'm just looking at these rankings here populated in our chat. You can go to like UFC.com/rankings if you're so inclined. But why don't you put him in there with that Louisiana motherfucker, Brendan Allen versus Bo Nickel, right? I think somebody who's going to bring the fight to Bo Nickel again, right? Because Dominic Cruz often says, the UFC presents you with certain stylistic challenges. So is that a guy who's way too experienced, right? Now you're going to give him someone higher in the rankings? I mean, I don't know, right? I guess we're trying to spin it forward for Reinier de Ridder, but part of the issue here, I guess, issue in a good sense, success for Reinier de Ridder was just, taking the fight right to Bo and not over respecting the guy.
Definitely. And I think that was a big difference in how he was responding with his striking. It was almost like he didn't care if he was going to be taken down or, he was just moving forward with those knees. He got to that clinch position. He was using his physicality against Bo Nickel extremely well. And he found a vulnerability and kept attacking it. And it was Bo Nickel who just couldn't adjust to it.
So if I asked you who is likely to fight for a belt sooner, Reinier de Ridder or Bo Nickel, you'd almost assuredly say Reinier de Ridder. And I think there's a chance he gets fast tracked.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for one, if you ain't Dutch, you ain't much, right? But I also think secondarily, Kenny, he seems to be cut from the cloth of a guy who's willing to turn around and accept big time fights on, 4 or 6 weeks notice.
He has stayed busy. The UFC loves that. I would also throw in the fact that this dude has 2 belts in 2 different weight classes, man. World championships, certainly not at the level of the other UFC fighters, but I think that's a big deal. That's something you can definitely promote.
Dude, I saw somebody with an RDA t-shirt and they were trying to make the A an R, bro.
Are you serious? You're
No.
joking right now. Okay.
But don't try. Just go support Reinier de Ridder like he supported Iowa wrestling. So the only bad part about the call out of Sean Strickland, other than maybe leapfrogging 11 guys in the rankings, right, is that if you do pay attention to the MMA stratosphere, and perhaps some of us are on our cellular telephones more than we should be, right, that Israel Adesanya has called for a rematch with Sean Strickland. And Izzy would seem to have a lot of leverage. I think that rematch has a compelling nature to it because it was 50-45 Strickland, and maybe Sean would not be of a big appetite for it, right? I'm just saying the only downside of that is that, I mean, RDR is getting a big fight regardless. I'm just not sure he's going to get that one, but I like the call out.
I absolutely. And also for Sean Strickland and Israel. I mean, that's a fight that's going to make them both a good amount of money, and it's not for a belt. So,
right.
That becomes enticing for sure.
But Reinier de Ridder, man, very, very interesting. And, occasionally I do like to buy merchandise for these fighters. So if Reinier de Ridder has any merchandise, I think I might be going to the store. By the way, I got wind of Manon Fiorot or Fior, whatever the fuck it is. We'll find out Thursday. Fiorot. Manon Fiorot. We're going to play the file later. My twin brother's losing his mind if he's watching live. So her walkout song, I mean, I can't really say much, but it's just straight fire. She's come out to it her whole career, I think, pretty much. But, it's so good.
Is it French hip-hop?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
You don't even need to know, right?
Dude.
You don't even need to know. You just know it's fire. I mean, hop on a treadmill.
Bro. I fax with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Bo Nickel had 7 wrestling losses in high school, and I'm sure he responded quite well. But it is very interesting, and this is what makes the fight game so great, because we've talked about the relative electricity of Khamzat Chimaev. I've repeatedly said it's the most electrifying force in the game. Dana White agrees. Bo Nickel hitting that inspection zone, right? Getting fucking Vaseline put on his eyebrows for his next fight. It's going to be a tense moment, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, this was a fight night in Des Moines, you know? Who's to say Bo Nickel's next fight is not live on pay-per-view against at Anik Florian Pod, man. Who should Bo Nickel fight next? Congratulations to Reinier de Ritter. I'd like to flip ahead to Jillian Robertson for a second before we get to D-Rod and some of these other winners, because my gosh, man, it's pretty interesting to have Dean Thomas on the show, and they talk about sort of physicality and finishing and everything that he's been preaching and she's been working for so many years. Now tied with, I think, Amanda Nunes as the most decorated finisher in UFC women's history, Ken Flo. Jillian Robertson sends Marina Rodriguez into retirement, and Jillian's an absolute force. I'm curious how far she can take it.
I think when she's offensive, just like Dean said, and she's moving forward and she's able to implement her ground game, she's going to give girls fits in that division. No question about it. I think she looked really good. The other thing I think is for Marina Rodriguez. Can we call her M-Rod? Does it sound good?
Whatever you goddamn well please.
M-Rod. That's what's up. I think it was great to be aggressive against her, especially with her lack of kind of momentum in the division. I think she's not fighting with the same level of confidence that she had early on, in my opinion. And just the way that Robertson was moving forward and attacking, she fought a perfect fight.
So Jillian's going to get a big fight at strawweight. And I think those who scoffed when I suggested Jillian in a main event maybe think a little bit differently. I mean, she's going to attack and be offensive, right? Like if you're trying to find a strawweight who's not going to be in a 25-minute main event, maybe it's her.
Dude, her and Mackenzie Dern, sign it.
Yeah, I think that's the fight. I don't know what that says relative to the rankings, right? But Dern v. Robertson. And that's the other thing, right? Like, I'm a company guy, but hopefully Dern v. Dern v. Robertson, is not at the apex.
Right.
You know? Because that fight just screams apex when, although the newly designed apex might be frosty and loud. So big win for LA's Daniel Rodriguez, huh?
D-Rod. I can call him D-Rod. He looked
wait, should we get back to M-Rod for a second? Or
yeah, M-Rod. Sorry. Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't need to live in this, but 3-time UFC headliner. She retired, and then she was asking, I think, for some money for a charity or, relative to her expectations. I think she walks away pretty disappointed. And I think for a lot of fighters, you're just like, oh my gosh, a couple, 18 months ago, you're headlining, about to maybe get in title shot candidacy. And then the next thing it's over.
Yeah. And I thought she was going to do big things in the division. And I think she definitely was successful overall, no question about it. But I expected even more from her, just because I thought she was a really talented striker when she was on her game and throwing sharp combinations. She was a handful. I think maybe her lack of development when it came to wrestling and the ground game, I think that's what kind of hurt her moving forward once people found that they could kind of peck at that wound. Anyways, but overall, I thought she was a really good striker.
All right, D-Rod, man. 2 in a row now for D-Rod. Absolutely huge when you think about the circumstances he found himself in against Kelvin Gastelum in Saudi Arabia. He gets it done over, a sort of fading, I guess, at this point in time, Santiago Ponzinibbio. The TKO comes at 112 of round 3. Ken Flo, your thoughts on that?
D-Rod looked like he was on point from the get-go. His takedown defense, especially up against the cage, has always been good, but just his takedown defense in general was on point, because that's where I thought Ponzinibbio had the best chance of beating him. On the feet, just the style that Ponzinibbio has, he likes to trade, and he likes to keep that chin up in the air, and D-Rod likes to take that chin off your face and landed a nasty finishing sequence. that would have taken out a lot of guys in that division. D-Rod hits extremely hard. He's got long arms, and he's throwing punches and bunches now. So I thought it was a fantastic performance.
Big night for cannabis with wins for Jillian Robertson and Daniel Rodriguez. All right, now with us, and we are absolutely privileged and thrilled to have about 10 minutes of this man's time. He has wheels and boots on the ground, I believe, here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Reigning, defending, undisputed UFC welterweight champion, Belal. Remember the name, Muhammad. We are live, brother. It's great to see you. Where are you, sir?
What's up, my brother? Yeah, we are touchdown in Montreal. I'm at we got an Airbnb out here, so got everything leveled in, and now just chilling.
So fight week begins. It sounds like, and it looks like for those of you, us that have been tracking you on Instagram, that you got the whole contingent. You know, we were looking through the corner earlier today, and I did notice a new name that I didn't recognize. Firdavs Kaleem, is that right?
For Das? No, that's a manager. He's not gonna be a corner. He's just
all right. It's so interesting. So not that I'm bringing my prep to the air, but we got like 6 or 7 guys. I mean, this entourage is getting a little bit thick at this point in time. That's just the manager. So big things, first title defense. I guess I'll lead with the obvious question. Health is wealth, and I know how badly you wanted to fight last December, but was there a point in time where you felt like the foot was back to 100% and you could exhale? Because however life-threatening it was, I know it scared your inner circle maybe more than it scared you.
Yeah, 100%. Especially now when I think back to that time, and like you said, I wanted to fight back then in December so bad, and then I thought it was the end. I was like, oh man, what the heck? Yada yada yada. But now that I'm healthy, it's fight week. I got another fight week ahead of me. I'm just blessed, man. I feel so good right now. I had a great camp, and I just can't wait to go in there and perform again.
Belal, everybody talks about Jack Della Maddalena's striking, certainly one of the best strikers in the division, in my opinion. But in regards to his ground game, are there any threats? And what do you think about him training with Craig Jones?
I mean, for me, obviously everybody has a threat, right? But I think I'm just levels above him everywhere. Even when you talk about his striking, I think people don't talk about my striking enough. They're talking about his striking like he's Canelo Alvarez or Ryan Garcia. We saw how bad they looked this weekend. So I think I'm going to go out there and I'm going to show and remind everybody how good I am and that I can do it all. I don't have to fight you in one path, one way to victory. I could do everything I want to do to Jack. And if I want to keep it standing, I'll keep it standing. If I want to take it to the ground, I'll take it to the ground. He doesn't have that privilege. He can only keep it standing. If it hits the ground, it's over. I don't care if you're training with Craig Jones, Brock Lesnar, whoever you're with. If I want to take you down, you're going down.
I love it. So in regards to the fight against Gilbert Burns, what do you think about his performance there? Do you think that he showed some holes in his game?
I mean, he showed holes, right? But he showed a lot of heart. I think, his biggest strength is that he figures out a way to win. He always tries to figure out a way. He never gives up, and he doesn't put his head down and, shy away. But that's not going to work with somebody like me because you're going to try to figure out a way, but then I'm going to have another way. For every plan B you have, I have a plan C, D, or E.
We are talking to the undisputed UFC welterweight champion, Belal Muhammad. It is UFC 315, Muhammad versus Della Maddalena, live on pay-per-view this Saturday night. Now, there does not seem to be any bad blood, and not to suggest that you and Leon Edwards maybe would never be cordial if you ran into each other during International Fight Week. But like when Jack comes out and says that your fighting style is boring, if you go beyond the headline and ingest the totality of what he says, he's comparing you to George St. Pierre, but they cut up him calling your style boring. So to what extent is there any friction whatsoever between you and Jack?
Now, when he said boring, I took that personally. That was that Michael Jordan moment. No, right? For me, I don't take none of it personally, right? They can say whatever they want to say, but I'm just going to keep winning. And for Jack, I don't have to fake anything. I don't have to make talk about his mom or something stupid like that, right? I think that he brings it regardless. And I'm going to bring it regardless. And for me, I take it personally that you want to take what I have. I don't even forget how long it took me to get this belt. I didn't forget that they didn't want to give it to me. I didn't forget that I had to claw myself to where I am. And they're just handing it to him, right? He had, 5 wins? And then I had to do 10 wins in a row. That's what I take personally. That's what I'm doing. Like, oh, you think you're just going to take it from me? You think you're just going to come out here and beat me and take what I worked so hard to get? No, that's more personal to me than trash talk.
Yeah. So I was on the treadmill this morning, and I was actually thinking about you late in the game when I was trying to go a little bit faster, and then I went a little bit slower because I'm not the mentally toughest guy in the world. But you are like the opposite of an excuse guy. So if I were to ask you about fighting Leon Edwards in his backyard at whatever hour of the night versus fighting in Montreal a little bit closer to Chicago at maybe a more normal hour, you're just the guy who shows up whether you've been fasting all day or not. So to what extent do you sort of think about the fact that Jack has had to come this far and you haven't had to come as far? You're competing at a more normal hour. Like, does that affect anything in terms of your preparation, mental or otherwise?
No, right? I mean, because I just had to do the same thing. I literally fought 5 a.m. in Manchester in his city. Like, we're in neutral ground. We're in Canada. For me, none of that really matters, right? Because this is your opportunity. This is your moment. This is what you've been working for. So there's no excuses. Even over there in Manchester, if I would have lost, it would have been no excuses. I didn't have no sleep. I didn't have that. And when people talk about myself and they're like, man, that's the best version you looked at. You looked. For me, I had no sleep. That was terrible. Like,
Right.
I felt like trash when I was getting into that cage, but I still went in and I fought. So the version that you're going to see this Saturday, where there isn't that crazy time zone change, it is only a 2-hour fight for me. You're going to see the best fighter that you probably ever see in your life.
So I just want to piggyback on that for a second. Was there anything that you or Mike Valley or Lewis Taylor didn't love from the Leon Edwards fight? Not that you need to peel back that curtain for us, but I'm just curious, like when you look at those 25 minutes, I'd imagine, you know, whether it was 4-1 you or 3-2 you, it wasn't a shutout. Like what was there that you could extract from that maybe wasn't super positive?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not positive when you end up the last 30 seconds to get your nose cut. So there's like little things that we always look at. We always try to fix what went wrong. Why did we take our foot off the gas that second? Did we have moments in the fight where we could have searched more and got the finish, right? I think even how you say he's working with Craig Jones. For me, this whole camp, we had Gerald Mearshart back in the gym. And his jiu-jitsu and his mind and his knowledge is priceless for me this camp, right? And I think it's helped us and helped the team a lot, especially even seeing Nacho get a submission his last fight. I think Gerald has a lot to do with that as well because now we have a jiu-jitsu coach that understands it with fighting and jiu-jitsu put together. So you're just going to keep seeing a better version, a growing version every time you see him in the cage. And now adding him on the team is just another level.
So I hate to even ask you about Islam Makhachev, and I'm only going to do so in the context of something you said to us when we were getting ready to call your fight against Sean Brady. You had all these positive things to say about Islam. You weren't at all thinking about the possibility of getting asked about him as a future opponent, and you talked about his humility and just how great he was, you know, and now it seems like maybe there's some sort of holdup. Have you known him to be desirous of becoming a double champion prior, maybe more than trying to go down as like the greatest lightweight champ of all time?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. We said it, and he's, oh man, you ruined my plans. It's one of those things, like, oh, you won the belt, you ruined my plans.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, where there's people now they're waiting to see what happens this weekend. But I tell them like, I would get your fight signed because I'm not leaving Montreal without the belt. I'm still going to be the champ. So start your camp right now. Whoever you have in line, whoever you have in store, you're good.
Hey, before I let you go, in terms of the rest of this welterweight division, right? To what extent did you have knowledge that Ian Machado Gary might be a backup when he was walking in there to fight Carlos Prates?
I had no knowledge. And even when he said it in the cage, I'm like, bro, there's no way this guy's about to step up as a backup because he looked a little bit beat up, especially in that fifth round when you're crawling on the floor. I'm like, he definitely took some damage, but is he going to make weight again? It is really going to be worth it because I'm not pulling out, and I'm sure Jack's not pulling out come all the way from Australia. So is it really worth it for you to make the weight? But you know, he's trying, right? Especially in the division now where people are saying there isn't a clear number one contender anymore.
Yeah.
And Shavkat, we don't know when he's coming back. And then you got Brady, who just looked great against Leon Edwards. And you got Kamaru and Buckley that are about to fight each other. And I think for him, he's trying to just put his name in the mix and thinking that he's going to cement himself as being the backup. But you never know what the UFC wants, right? The UFC will make whatever they have. I think if Kamaru wins, they'll make Kamaru skip the line no matter what, I feel.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating, right? But I do think it's interesting, and it almost felt like a stroke that you might have pulled, right? Like, yeah, I'll step up and fight Carlos Prates, right? But I'm going to weigh in 2 weeks later as the backup, right? But we were sort of joking last week, like, gosh, he better hope that you guys both get to fight night, because I think, I mean, let's not discount those 25 minutes against Carlos.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, bro, just the bumps and bruises you get from a fight, even if you win dominantly, you still get a whole bunch of bumps and bruises. And
Yeah.
especially with him, he was doing so well in the last 2 rounds. He took a lot of damage. So I'm like, bro, if he
Yeah.
ends up having to step up, you better back it up, right? Because if the
Yeah.
UFC calls him and he's like, you know what, I'm still injured,
It's
no,
a quick
like,
turnaround.
he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we can't wait to put the shine on you this week. I really just want to see your face, right? To be able to introduce you this week, obviously, as reigning, defending, undisputed, the man around whom this fight card was built. And, per capita, these people make as much noise as any MMA fans in the world. So I'm excited for you to feel all of that. Congrats on getting your first title defense. And we'll try not to be too up in your face all week, champ.
My brother, come to the house anytime, bro. You know we got you.
All right. I'll see you Monday or Tuesday, champ. Thanks for a few minutes. We love you.
All right, boys. Love you guys.
Good luck, man.
He is Belal. Remember the name Muhammad. Set to make the first defense of his title in Montreal live on pay-per-view this Saturday. And the man's all business, He's not going to give you specific details, I think, when it comes to certain things, I think, and rightfully so. But self-belief and hard work lead the dance, not unlike Floyd Mayweather and many other all-time greats.
He sounded very, very confident, and everything he has said he was going to do, he's been doing. So, yeah.
All right, we'll see how it goes for Belal Muhammad. About a 2-1 betting favorite against Della Maddalena. That is part of the main card coming up on pay-per-view. Also, Valentina Shevchenko and Manon Fior as well. All right, going to get back to a few fight night highlights, if I could, before we get to the great Raymond Peter Longo. So, Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens is back in defeat, but he's back, man, and he landed a lot of big uppercuts that Mason Jones had to respect. Mason Jones showed you that he is absolutely UFC level. Dude's the man. I mean, however your scorecard was, 2-1, 3-0. I had a 30-27 for Mason Jones, who really, I think, showed that he never should have been outside the UFC, and Stevens valiant in defeat. What a way to kick off the main card there in Iowa.
That was an amazing fight. The crowd was going nuts. Obviously, Jeremy is from that area. But Mason Jones, man, he came to fight. And I think it was impressive what he was doing on the feet. But the big difference maker, obviously, in that fight was his ability to take the fight to the ground and hurt Jeremy there. Man, very, very exciting fight. Did that get fight of the night?
So the bonuses went to Corey Sandhagen, Reinier de Ridder, Azamat Bakoyev, who we should probably talk about, and Kwong Lee. No fight of the night was awarded. So, but we'll see the extent to which this means Stevens is back. I don't know if anything was said at the post-fight press conference, but I would like to see him get another fight in the UFC. What'd you make of the Montel Jackson fight? Did you see his win over Daniel Marcos takes his O?
I did. I thought he looked fantastic. That foot sweep that he hit Marcos was a thing of beauty. He's just a really smart fighter who's not about really making a whole lot of mistakes, and if he does, he finds a way out of them really easily. I'm glad I picked him. He just seems like he's there to win, man. He's all business, that kid, and Marcos is no joke.
Well, now he's going to get the big fight. And you could suggest that this one was big, and it was, right? But now Montel's going to get the big fight. And yeah, I mean, what is he, 5'11", 135 pounds with hands bigger than Francis Ngannou? We won this fight 30-27 times 3 and neutralized Marcos. But I don't know. I mean, bantamweight's fascinating. I mean, not that long ago, Kyler Phillips was a guy whose cause I was championing, and he was on the cusp, and then, ran into Rob Font. But Montel Jackson, I think, is going to be heard from, and now he's going to get that big fight against one of those guys, probably in the bantamweight division's top 10. Surrey City over Cameron Smotherman. I thought City looked great. I mean, I believe in so many of these guys, and at 35 and 45, right? Like, the depth is a compliment as much as it is an issue, right? But Surrey City, I thought, looked great against Cameron Smotherman.
Yeah, absolutely. And Smotherman's tough. I mean, he'll get in your face, but Surrey City, when I watched his fights, he just seemed really, really skillful. And it just seemed like he was lacking a little bit of that comfort level in the cage, but it seemed like it was getting better each time out. And sure enough, it was even better this time around here against Smotherman. Looked really, really sharp. His kicking game was on point. His footwork looked good. His ground attacks were really good. I like this kid.
Did you happen to see the Yana Santos Misha Tate fight? It was the first fight that I watched.
Yeah, I saw highlights of it. Was it a super close fight? Was it where people were booing, Lon? I saw that part. What happened? Was it because
I mean, it wasn't the fight of the year. I mean, Misha
Okay.
came out really hard and then had moments in round 3.
Mhm.
But largely Santos was able to sort of cut angles and outpoint her. But, I thought Misha came out valiantly, and it was just good to see her back on the proven ground. Physically, I thought she looked good. But yeah, I thought Yana Santos deserved to win. I was just curious if you had seen that, just acknowledging the former champion. Congratulations to Azamat Bakoyev. And, we talked about Jillian Robertson so early because about time she gets some shine, right? I mean, I think there's promotionally a lot that you can do as well with her, especially if you want to lean into the cannabis stuff. All right, we got Ray Longo coming up. Oh, you know what? Ray Longo's here right now. So, I mean, why would I read a commercial and keep a good man waiting? Let's get to the Ray Longo Minute.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Look at him. Look at the motherfucker. That's what I'm
Hey!
Oh, shit.
Where's Waldo, huh?
Bad hair day again.
That's
Hello
all right.
there. How we guys doing on a Sunday night?
Great to see you in prime time. We appreciate you making the pivot with us, brother.
You look like
man.
you're hiding in a dark room, John. Where are you?
So, yeah, it's tough. I mean,
Oh, there you go.
is that better?
That's
Is that better?
yeah.
The sun went down here. I'm in Montreal already.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're ready to go. And we got a pay-per-view coming up this weekend, but it's nice to see you. Anik and Florian podcast presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. So I'd like to get a few thoughts on Corey Sandhagen from you if I could. I think a guy that is just easy for a lot of the people embedded in this fight game to root for, and gets it done against the former flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo. Raymond, what'd you make of that?
Look, I think Corey's always been one of the most talented guys in that division. And he remains one of the most talented guys in that division. He could do everything. I think he's had some sort of slips here and there, but I love his attitude. I love that he perseveres through it, and he keeps, I believe, getting better. I think Trevor's going to add a little bit of stability, maybe take away some of the crazier things he used to do all the time. I think like the flying knee at certain times is good, but could get you in trouble. But I think he's got a good combination now, and I think he seems like his head's in the right spot, and he definitely deserves a title shot for sure. I think he's one of the only guys that hasn't fought for it yet, and he's just right there. I think he's a great guy, and I wish the best for him.
Ray, did you see this Bo Nickel upset?
I got to tell you. Let me tell you,
what
Kenny,
the Ritter?
let me tell you something. Yeah, it's funny. I was in the gym, and I'm told that we got a guy Gershon, and I don't think this guy's ever missed on a fight. I mean, hats off to him. Shout out to Gershon, because he's might be the best handicapper I know. And he tells me before I go, "Who do you got in the nickel fight?" Because I like fucking around with him. He goes, "I'm taking the Ritter." I go, "Really?" I go, "That's a big step." He goes, "Nah, he's going to do it." And man, he was right again. I go, if he gets this right, I'm never going against him again. But hats off to Ritter, just a tough guy. Man, I was really high on Bo Nickel, man. I don't know what I was looking at, but that didn't look good. That looked like a guy that was never really hit before. Like, it just didn't hit, man. It just didn't look good. I don't know. It was a really bad optic for me, but I still
Those
think
knees were pretty brutal, though.
Yeah. When you're not used to, I think, I was talking to another kid at the gym. He's like a good competitor, but competing and fighting is two huge differences, man. Like it goes back to, you're a black belt until you get punched in the face, then you're a blue belt. I mean, it's a fight, man. It's really not a competition. It's a fucking fist fight. You know, it's got some rules, but at the end of the day, man, you better be able to go through fire if you have to. And he didn't pass that test, man. I don't know.
And you know, his longtime roommate, fellow Penn State wrestler Anthony Cassar, started out as a pro fighter and went into real estate. And I'm not comparing their resumes or anything necessarily, right? But I asked Kenny earlier, right? Like, does he still think that Bo Nickel, right, with this result now as part of the equation, will one day still fight for the title? I was going to ask our listeners, like, do you think Bo Nickel will still get to the top 5 if you thought so before, or maybe fight for the title? And, you know, I'm not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves, but there's a lot of work to be done now to think about him challenging, say, number 11 in the world, Brendan Allen, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, he's going to have to start if he wants to do it. I'd actually have to listen to him talk to see which direction he's going in. But I mean, there's a million things to correct at this point. So he could, I mean, he's got the chops. I mean, once you wrestle like that at that level, you're at least in tune with training hard and going through some sort of adversity. So I think it'll be good. I mean, I can only kind of compare it to Weidman, but man, Weidman fought for that title with like 9 or 10 fights. He wanted to fight, man. I used to throw him in with boxes. I mean, he knew what it was like to get beat up, like not beat up, but he was in the frying pan. Like I wasn't gonna let that happen, you know. Like I don't know, man. Like he was cutting weight. He was making 30 pounds in a week. I mean, he just tortured himself, but he wanted it that bad. And I don't know if I'm seeing that now in Bo Nickel. And I know it's hindsight is 2020 because I said this a while ago. I thought he could have fought for the title whenever, but man, I'm kind of backtracking now, and I don't know. I hope he turns it around, and I hope he. I don't know what I hope he gets back in there and proves himself. But you gotta want it. It's a fucking fight, man. I don't know how else to put it. Like it just looked like a guy thinking he was going to compete, and all of a sudden the guy was fouling. You know what I mean? Like he just didn't react the right way. You saw it even before the fight was stopped. I'm like, is that possible? Is he kind of turning his back? Is he wincing? I don't know, man. So he's got to. I'd love to hear his take on it.
Yeah, I was going to let Kenny get in here. I didn't know if you were sort of chomping at the bit to say something, but
yeah.
Yes, I sort of want to give him a couple months, right? And he has a great support system and really not just good coaches, but coaches who have done it at the elite level, right? Thiago Alves, Mike Brown. So I think he's got the right support system. Dan Lambert, American Top Team. But when Ray says there are myriad issues, that is not lost on me, right? Like you could talk about sort of, gas maintenance, right? In terms of an angle of all of this, when you're absorbing punishment and, like total cardiovascular abandonment, so many wayward moments in this fight. Like I understand the value of a loss and how a setback can be a propellant, but my gosh, I mean, I didn't see it live. I watched it after the fact and it was worse than I thought.
I wonder, Ray, to your point, how often he actually goes to like ATT HQ in Florida to train. I know he does his own training in a separate. Do you know, John, of how much?
Yeah,
like,
so
is he getting in there with other guys?
Great question. So he does, but the time is split, and maybe that is something that he would actually consider would be moving to Florida full time. But
I thought he was in Florida full time.
Well, he splits time. I think he still lives in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, you Northeasterners, right? I mean, Kenny and I are among them, but
Kenny. Yeah, Kenny, what was your take on that?
So I think he can get back there. I think that he's still, especially compared to a guy like RDR, doesn't have anywhere close to the experience that guy has. So I think, physically he was showing those telltale signs that he was hurt. I think those things can be rectified with time, hopefully. I think he's tough enough. I think he knows how to come back from adversity. So I think he'll be fine, but how much other things do we not know about Bo Nickel? Like what else don't we know? It's still very early. So again, this was his first big setback, his first real fight, and we'll see what he takes next. But
yeah, I mean, my thing always is and always will be, you got to find what I saw last night, that has to be found out in the gym and corrected before a fight like that. That's a
good point.
like I don't want to keep bringing Chris up. I mean, I love the guy, but
Please.
even like when he was first starting out wide, I couldn't get him a fight. Like the athletic commission turned down fight after fight after fight because of his wrestling chops. Like I'm saying, like I almost want to say a guy like Della, he would have been in the same. He would have probably the athletic commission wouldn't even allowed that fight. So it's not like he doesn't have that experience, but when you have the wrestling experience he has, I don't believe it takes that much to fine tune the other stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's my experience. I mean, and I've taken a lot of wrestlers and watched them grow through stuff, but it's got to be done the right way. And I don't know. But I mean, I hope he's all right. I'm a big fan either way, but I thought what I saw that night just wasn't a good look. Optically was horrible, matter of fact.
Yeah, no, I think that's presciently put. And it's interesting, two schools of thought, and maybe not just two, because there are prongs to it, right? But more developmental time. If I'm Bo Nickel, I'm like, how soon can I get that motherfucking taste out my mouth? And there's only one place that I can do that, right? And I'm not saying, he needs to get back there in 6 weeks, but I'd rather it be 12 to 14 than another 6 months, right? Say what you want about Khamzat Chimaev's relative inactivity for his career, but he fought twice in 10 days and he's about it, and I'm suggesting Bo's about it. If I'm him, I'm saying strategic, let's get a fucking fight and fucking regain some confidence,
I mean, the other one observation I want to make, Kenny, I don't know if you'll agree or not. I mean, he kind of looked tiny in there compared to the Ritter.
I literally just looking up their sizes because that's the thing. It was Rainier de Ritter just huge, or is Bo Nickel small for the division?
I mean, de Ritter has had success up,
Yeah, I'm just saying, is 170 a possibility? Do we know what he wrestled at in college?
We'll chase that for you, but I don't see.
I don't think it was down to 170. I don't
no,
think 170. It was up
I
in
thought it was like
80s.
82 or something.
Yeah.
I just feel like
that'd be tough.
He's not going to push
He's
the reset.
Probably a 175 pounder. If they had that division, maybe. I just think he looked
74, 84, and 97 in college.
Yeah.
3-time NCAA champion. He won titles at 74, 84, and 97 from 2017 to 2019. Thank you, Cody.
Yeah.
So, but 5 years or so into the MMA developmental game, right? Not a newcomer, right?
Yeah.
So, but no, I believe in the athlete as much as Kenny does, to be sure.
Yeah.
I just think that's why this is such an interesting setback to sort of analyze. All right.
Yeah.
A few other things I would like to get to with Raymond, if I could. I don't know if there were any performances of note that you wanted to talk about. I mean, de Ritter, I think, can really do some big things here and can potentially be fast-tracked. Big win for D-Rod, Jillian Robertson. Unless you got anything on those, I'd kind of like to spin it forward to UFC 315 with you, Raymond.
I think the Jillian Robinson fight, I think she's looking really good. And she's still young, which I think is phenomenal. So hats off to Dean Thomas. I think he's doing a great job with her. I thought the Jeremy Stevens fight, the first 2 rounds was total insanity. And that's a fight everybody has to like because it wasn't 2 sloppy guys beating the crap out of each other. There was a lot of technical stuff going on in there. It was just, that excites me, that type of fight.
That was a fun fight.
That's a fun fight, man.
Yeah.
All right. So, you are very verbose, except when it comes time to make a prediction. So I'm not going to ask you like your social media team does to make a prediction on Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. So I'm going to ask you where you think this fight will be contested for the most part, in the striking realm or in the grappling realm. Is that a fair question?
That's a fair question. I would say it'll be contested more on the floor than it will be standing up.
So that seems like a lean to Belal Muhammad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lean.
Yeah. So Kenny and I have watched a lot of film in the lead up to this fight, specifically on the Jack Della Maddalena side. And he's a very instinctual, fluid fighter. But I think sometimes for people, maybe you look at a result against Basil Hafez or, certain results that make you wonder how he might deal with this particular stylistic challenge. How do you feel like they match up on the feet, though?
I think You'll disagree, man. Big advantage to Jack Della Maddalena.
Why? Why? Because I'm not an objective observer, so I will disagree. Is that why?
1,000,000%. You know, 1,000,000%.
But the UFC is entrusting me with calling the fight on pay-per-view. What?
I wouldn't want to be you. I'll tell you that. I swear. I'm not. I wouldn't want to be you.
When we launched Remember the Show with Belal and my twin brother on the Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel, Belal was unranked number probably 27 in the world. You looking off like you're bored. I'm just saying. No, I mean, I've gone to great lengths to, I got my One More Sleep Australia t-shirt packed with me to wear to the weigh-in to support Jack. No, I go to great lengths to support all of these athletes, but I assure you, if you were to ask Tim Simpson, his manager, or Jack, if they felt bias, they wouldn't feel the way you do, Ray. But we'll see if we can call it down. See if we can call it down the middle, though.
Holy crow. That's funny.
So
John, you'll always do the right thing. I trust in you.
But I can suggest to you that Belal doesn't get credit for his striking, and his striking's underrated, all while saying it's not nearly as layered as Jack, right? The footwork, for example, right?
Look, what Belal's got going for him is they are going to be fearful of his wrestling, which obviously opens up your hands. So because of that, I think he could take certain liberties and he'll be fine. But if it just was contested on the feet and there was no takedowns involved, I'm saying Jack Maddalena would have a big advantage on him. You know, but when you blend everything together, which is MMA, it's not going to be that wide of a disparity, I don't think.
Yeah. All right, co-main event. Who do you believe is favored between Valentina Shevchenko and the French woman Manon the Beast Fiorot?
Shevchenko.
Shevchenko is not the favorite, and every time I go on a DraftKings Sportsbook, she becomes a bigger underdog. Your thoughts on that?
Wow.
Man, I don't know. I like the other girl. She's long, a little awkward, you know, got good range, but I think Shevchenko's too much for her.
Okay, so you're advising our listenership and viewership to maybe look at Valentina Shevchenko at, wait for it, plus 130 is the live number on DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, when I first sent that line to Kenny, she was like plus 102 or so. Now she's plus 130. So an even better number than before, Ray.
I like the number.
Which champion are you more confident in, Valentina Shevchenko or Belal Muhammad?
Oh, that's a good question.
Thanks, Ray.
But I think Belal, because I think Belal's still out to prove something, and he's still up and coming. She's been there, done that, lost, came back. I hope her reasons for fighting are the same they were 6 fights ago. That's the only thing I'm uncertain of. But I think Belal's still on the come up. You know what I mean? And he's got a lot more to give, and I think that's the difference. So I'd say I'd feel more comfortable with him than with her.
Any news on the Aljamain Sterling front before we get to some would you rathers?
No, nothing at all. I haven't even talked to him. I saw he was in Bali. I commented a little bit, but he looks like he's getting his work in. He's funny, man. He's a different cat, man. I think he's really loving life, and he's doing great. Yeah.
Wait a second. Your gym manager, longtime Anik and Florian podcast supporter, Steve Lee, his wife had a baby last week, and the middle name is Raymond after you.
Is that true?
Yeah, that just cost me $5,000, Kenny. You know what I mean? I think that he might be a genius. I'm not sure.
Wow. I mean, you're probably not the Godfather, but wow, you just had a baby named after you. Is that right or no? Oh, you are the Godfather.
No. That's what they said.
Yeah. Okay, Cody. I mean, yeah, Cody's right. He's the Godfather. Yeah, you are figuratively you're the Godfather, but
that is awesome.
They went in another direction with the actual Godfather. So no, but this kid was named after you.
I have no idea.
Oh, come on, Ray. I mean, we're just going to fucking go back to the 1950s and go with the name Raymond, huh? Everybody loves Raymond. I mean, when was the last kid named Raymond? It's got to be after you.
Yeah. All right.
That's amazing. You
It
know
is
who my
amazing.
son's name? My son is Hunter J. Anik, after my twin brother.
Wow.
Even though, Jewish people are not supposed to name after the living. So I changed it from Jason to Jay. I said, you know what? Got to do it. But that is an amazing honor for you, Ray. You know?
Yes.
That's awesome, man. Congratulate Steve for us, man.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Steve
He's
Lee's
got,
the man.
and he's got a healthy baby boy, which is all that matters. So that's
Yes.
great.
Very cool.
That is all that matters. All right, Ray. We got a few more minutes and then we'll let you get back. What are you doing tonight? What are you doing tonight? You're looking at the clock. We got a few more
No, I
minutes.
didn't look at the clock. I was cracking my neck.
Right. Hey,
I actually just got back from the gym. I was there the whole day. So
Oh wow.
All day long. Let me clear my throat. Hey, so what are you guys doing tonight? You and the wife hanging out, watching a movie, watching combat sports? What's for dinner? What are we doing?
Yeah, we'll watch a couple of shows or whatever we're gonna do.
Yeah. Do you know what show? Is it a series that maybe you watched prior?
We've been watching White Lotus, catching up on that.
All right. And have you had dinner yet at 8:05 p.m. Eastern time?
No.
Okay, maybe a little protein, a little rice tonight.
Oh, definitely protein tonight.
All right. Nobody needs to know. Nobody gets hurt.
Wow.
Ray, would you rather get trapped in the middle of a food fight or a water balloon fight?
Trapped in a food fight or a water balloon fight? I feel pretty comfortable with either of those, but I don't know. I mean, I've been in both. I mean, that used to be a big thing when I went to junior high school. Food fights and just everybody going berserk. So, water balloon fight, either or. I don't even know that they're both. That's both. I think they're the same. Nothing different.
That's a long fucking answer. Kenny, any thoughts?
I'll definitely take the water.
Me too. I know what.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was getting hazed, and I'm not even going to say in my fraternity, but they poured a bunch of fermented food on us and had us fucking sit in it. So no, I would much rather be in a water balloon fight. I'll take a black eye, getting wet.
Oh yeah, but wait a minute. But they're not pouring. I mean, a food fight is whatever you have on your plate. You're whipping it.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's not like fraternity hazing.
All right. I mean, nobody. Yeah.
All right, Ray. Would you rather sleep with someone on the first date or wait for 6 months?
First date.
Kenny?
Yeah, first date, maybe.
6 months, a long time.
6 months, man. Listen, if somebody could last 6 months, I'm not doing my job the right way. That who the hell's waiting 6 months?
Low testosterone, not an issue for the 65 years young.
Well, we didn't say that,
Oh. Ray, would you rather give up your cell phone for a month or bathing for a month?
I'd rather give up bathing for a month.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, why not?
How many times do you? I mean, I'll shower sometimes like Shaquille O'Neal 3-4 times a day. I mean, no. You gonna shower tonight or no?
I'll shower tonight, yeah.
Okay, please. Right, thank you. But you did get one in this morning. We don't need to shower before we fucking all right. Ray, your birthday is coming up.
Oof, that's not good.
May 21st?
May 20th, yeah.
Fuck, Buffer's is the 21st.
Oh.
Yours is the 20th. Kenny's is the 26th. Cody Bone Marrow's is May 15th.
Wow.
Ray, would you rather get gifts or money for your birthday?
I'm still an old school cash is king guy. I'll take the money.
Man, what a shallow answer.
Shallow.
Ray, would you rather get $100 or $101 lottery tickets?
I'll take $100.
Oh, you're such a fucking curmudgeon. Jesus, man. Kenny, I would assume you take the $101 lottery tickets, right?
I think that'd be fun.
What does a $1 lottery ticket pay you?
Well, I mean, no, the odds aren't great, but I mean, it's like, you need the C note that badly. I mean, roll the dice, Ray, would you rather date someone with their ex's name tattooed on their chest? Oh. Right? So it just says fucking Joel right across your wife's chest. Joel, just hear me out.
Yeah, only if it says Joe was here before you. Then that's not going to go over good.
Or would you rather just date someone whose ex lives next door? Right. Oh God.
Oh, that is the worst.
And where does the other Rex live? Out of state?
Right. Good, fair.
Yeah, I'll take
All
the
right.
tattoo.
2 more Would You Rathers with Ray Longo live on the Anik and Florian podcast. Again, this is just us trying to do right by our listeners. You know, I could take or leave this segment. It's them that keep asking for it. Would you rather feel like you know your partner better than anyone or feel like they surprise you every day? You like surprises, right?
I'm not a big surprise guy.
All right.
I'll take number one.
All right. And last question, Ray. Would you rather take a
dump?
Take amazing selfies. I mean, do you even take selfies?
This is the Kenny. Come on, can you control this guy? Is there any talking to him?
I'm dying of it.
Would you rather take amazing selfies but look terrible in all other photos, or be photogenic everywhere but in your selfies?
Wait, what the fuck is that?
That's a joke. I love you.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer. We love
Holy
you.
shit.
Thank you,
Ray's
Ray.
mind just melted. See you, Ray.
Take it easy, guys. Take it easy. I'll talk to you. Have a great night. We will see you. Who's calling the fight with you this week?
I believe it's Daniel Cormier and Dominic Cruz.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Listen,
Two
good
DCs.
luck. Don't upset anybody over there. Ask the right questions. Please don't piss anybody off. I'll talk to you
Thanks
later.
for I can see the headline now. Longo suggests lack of objectivity in UFC 315 booth. So yeah,
Take it easy.
Thanks, buddy. We'll see you.
See you, Ray.
Bye.
Three-name Jack. Three-name Jack getting his title fight this weekend against Belal Muhammad. All right. Pronunciation of the week is brought to you by Total Wireless, the official wireless provider of UFC. Get unlimited data that will not slow you down. All right, Ken Flo. We're going to font this guy's name on the screen for you at some point. This man competes in the light heavyweight division. He faces Navajo Sterling. Don't call him Navajo. Navajo Sterling on the UFC 315 prelim portion. American top team product out of Croatia. Lost his UFC debut to Iwan Kutelaba, who also competes this weekend at UFC 315. Kenflo, name is fonted there. Of whom am I speaking?
So are we going to go with Ivan, or like more like American, or is it Ivan? I'm going to go with Ivan Erslan.
All right, let's hear Ivan.
Ivan Erslan. Ivan Erslan.
There's a roll of the R there. Erslan.
But notice how you emphasized correctly the first syllable on Erslan. And again, I just bring this up to people because this is my job, right? So it's not Ivan Erslan, right? It's Ivan Erslan, right? He emphasizes the first syllable in both names, and got to practice that so that it's easy enough to say when we get there. Nice job there by Kenny Florian, who seems to really be doing quite well in the pronunciation of the week. All right, just days away from UFC 315, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 2 title fights. Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena, and Valentina Shevchenko against Manon Fiorot. And I've got just one question for you folks. Are your bets in right now? Well, if they are not, look no further than DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of UFC. If you're brand new to DraftKings, we got something big as always. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly, whether you're wagering on UFC 315 or anything else. All you need to do, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, not now, but right now, use code AFPOD. That's code AFPOD for new customers to score $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in New York. Call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right. 6 predictions coming your way for UFC 315. Muhammad versus Della Maddalena as we go 3 wide for the main event challenge. Whoa, you look good. I mean, did you cut your hair again?
I did. Yeah, the sides got cut. The sides got cut a little bit. They did. They did.
Of course they did. All over.
Are we calling that a flat top? Is that an official flat top or no?
It's nah. I mean, we can call it whatever we want, but I think my wife's like, hey, let me just fade the sides in. So it's like, yeah, do what you got to do. So I'm just her guinea pig. She does what she wants.
Brian, about 30 seconds, how do you sort of quantify this setback, if you can call it that, for Bo Nickel against the super credentialed Reinier de Ridder?
So I drove to some family in Georgetown, Kentucky today. It's about an hour away from Cincinnati, and I'm not gonna lie to you. The whole time I thought about that. It's huge for me, right? Bo Nickel's such a big part of. I was so excited, still am excited, but seeing the fraud check, seeing all the fans turn on him, it's hard to ignore. I still think he can do good things, but it was a really ugly fight for him. If we're being honest with you, he didn't make any adjustments on the feet or otherwise. And listen, he's going against de Ridder, who's unbelievable, but it was a tough pill to swallow. I've rewatched it since then. It was like a nightmare. Like, I'm gonna face my nightmares again. It's a lot of money on Bo Nickel, and it's uglier the second time to watch him. It really is.
Yeah. I don't think I'd do exceedingly well if I was allowed to wager on combat sports. All right.
Tough.
Montreal, Quebec, Canada, UFC 315, Muhammad versus Della Maddalena. My tickets this weekend are going to our producer, Cody Merrow, by the way, who's going to be here to support Belal. First pick for us will be a preliminary bout in the women's flyweight division. Brian, we'll start with you. Jasmine Jazz Divisius, -285. Jessica Andrade, +230. So Jazz Divisius streaking out of the wrestling heavy camp, Niagara top team, 36 years of old. Time's kind of got to be now, Bri. But she's 7-2 in the UFC and now getting a former champion for the first time. Your thoughts on her here, near 3-1 against Andrade?
Right, yeah, she's kind of carrying the flag for female MMA in Canada, unless you add Loopy Gunnes. I mean, Loopy, I know, reps Canada sometimes as well. But Jasmine's look good. I mean, she's been up and down, and lately she's been finding what she wants to do, and that's bully women, bully girls, take them down, beat them up. That's her game, and she's good at it. And that's what Andrade just struggles at. Jessica Andrade, who I love, one of my favorite fighters, she struggles when she gets put on her back, right? It's not the easiest to get her there, but when she's there, it's kind of stagnant. She doesn't like to get, transfer up, throw submissions, try to work her way up. But for some reason, I'm stubborn. I can't, when I see Jessica Andrade at +2 something, what is it, +230 right now on DraftKings, I can't ignore that. I got to go with the experience. I got to go with the power of Andrade. I know we're in Canada, and the crowd's going to be behind Jasmine, and she's on a hot roll right now. This might be a dumb pick, but Jessica Andrade is going to get my pick, and she'll get my money here. Experience and power really, really trumps a lot of things that Jasmine has going for her right now. So I'm a sucker for it, but give me Jessica Andrade.
Andrade, 17-11 in the UFC. Can't flow. She's still only 33. Made her debut in 2013. The first year women were permitted to compete in the UFC. She won the strawweight title in 2019. Seems like it's going to be flyweight for now for Andrade. Comes in having won 2 of her last 3. Your thoughts on her here, +230 against Jazz Divisius?
Yeah, I thought BP did a great breakdown. I don't think Jasmine Jazz Divisius, is that what it is?
It's or Jazz Divisius. We've done it so many times on the Pronunciation of the Week. It looks nothing like Jasuda Vicious.
I like Jazz Hands, though. That's great.
That is good. We're going to fucking drop a Jazz Hands. Is that new for today? We're going to drop a Jazz Hands on pay-per-view.
Yeah, dude.
Too bad she's on the prelims.
I like Jazz Hands, man. I think she's going to be the better grappler here, but she does have to worry about the power on the feet, though, from Andrade. I think that is a real threat. But I think her ability to get to that clinch, especially if she finds success early on, I like her chances that much better. If Andrade gets off to a good start, it could go downhill pretty fast for Jazz Divisius. Did I say that correctly? Anyway, Jazz Hands. I like Jazz Hands.
Dude.
Put money on Jazz Hands. No, I don't know if I'm going to put money on Jazz Hands, but I like Jazz Hands. I like saying Jazz Hands.
Dude.
I like hearing you say it. I like it.
I mean, forget objectivity for me in the main event. I'm going to have a hard time when Jazz Divisius
fights. It's great.
And as Cody points out, imagine Buff going, Jasmine, Jazz Hands. All right.
I like Jazz Hands at the horn. He's yelling too. That'd be great.
Dude. Yeah. No, I mean, if she knocks her out 100%, fucking Jazz Hands.
Dude, DJ Jazzy Jeff was the other one I was going to go with. By the way.
Yeah.
I like Jazz Hands.
Yeah, all right.
Featured prelim at welterweight. Jazz Hands' teammate, Cropper Mike Malott, -225, taking on Charles Radke, +185. Hey, Brad, do you know where Malott was born?
Let's just say Boston, right?
Cleveland, Ohio, USA.
Ohio.
I mean, these Canadians. I mean,
nice.
Let's carry the flag. Born in fucking Cleveland. No, I'm just kidding, Mike.
Yeah.
Just kidding. He proudly, of course, reps Burlington, Ontario, Canada. He's 4-1 in the UFC. He is very much Canadian. And he beat Trevin Giles last November, spins it forward in a big spot this weekend against Chuck Buffalo BP. Take it away.
Listen, if I was born in Cleveland, I'd rep Canada too. You're not far off there, Mike Malott. Cleveland's a dump. Listen, I love this fight. This fight is tough to pick. It really was hard because I love Chuck Buffalo, who I thought had the best nickname on the card until Jazz Hands got introduced to me. So now he's playing for second here, but he's a gritty, grimy dude. He got he got put down. He got clipped bad and put down by Carlos Prates with that body shot. It was absolutely nasty, but he rebounded well and looked good against Ellensberger. And this is a dude whose nails in there. He really is. He goes after it. And Mike Malott is really, really pretty. I'll get all these first round finishes. Then he runs into Neil Magny, which he looked dominated, but he got magnied, right? It was the third round. He slowed down, and that's what happens when you're not prepared for that. But then he rebounded well and went a hard three his last time out and got a win over Trevin Giles, who, again, is a solid guy to get a good win over. I like Malott here. This is a really tough fight for me to pick because I love the number on Chuck Buffalo, but Malott, I think, is going to have the crowd. I do think he's really good. He has good skills. And if you clean up that cardio and you really mix in the cardio with the experience with those skills that he has, because he's dangerous on the ground and on the feet, that could be a problem for a guy like Buffalo, who I think is a guy that's just going to kind of tough through some things here. And I think the technique is going to show out for Mike Malott. So I like Mike Malott, even though the numbers are a little chunky for me. I'll go with the Canadian.
Nicely done. I like how he says a guy like Buffalo, right? Like chops the Chuck, like Buffalo's his surname. Yeah, there's not a better nickname than Chuck Buffalo.
It's good.
Charles Radke, Kenny, plus 185. Perhaps some intrigue there, or are you going with the local, so to speak, in Mike Malott?
I think there's intrigue there. I think Radke is a very slick striker. When he's on his game, man, I think he carries the power, carries the technique to be able to take someone like Mike Malott out. But, Mike, if he gets off to a good start, is able to establish the range, if he's able to back up Charles, I think that he could definitely win this fight, not only with some selective striking, but also with his ground game. I think that's where he can really get the better of Radke here. I don't think it's going to be easy for him to take him down. I also think sometimes Mike gets caught trading and tries to out tough guys sometimes, which may not go well against someone like Radke. I don't know if it's worth putting money on this, but I'm going to go with Radke here.
Radke also a jiu-jitsu black belt, incidentally.
Yeah.
He's got power. He's got an attitude. Only blemish in the UFC to Carlos Prates. We'll see if he can avoid a second UFC loss against Malott. All right, main card opener is still TBD. It was going to be Benoit Saint-Denis versus Joel Alvarez. We're waiting on a potential replacement for Alvarez. So got 4 pay-per-view main card for the fellas to dissect for you today. First of which comes your way in the women's flyweight division, moving night in this division. Title, of course, going to be on the line later on this night. This one, Bri, the streaking Natalia Silva, minus 218 against the former champ Alexa Grasso, plus 180.
Yeah, I actually really like this fight for Grasso. I was surprised that she was this kind of big of a dog. I know Silva is on a run right now, and she's looked fantastic, but Grasso's really only her last 2 losses are against the champ, right? And then before that, she beat the champ. It was a split decision before that, and then she got clean swept the last time out. However, a lot of those were happening because of grappling. Shevchenko really grappled her, put her on her back, and just shut down Grasso. Grasso is a good grappler when she's up top, but she's also a very good striker. Her boxing's pretty clean. Silva's going to want to strike with Grasso here. So I think it's going to kind of wipe out the grappling. I think both these females are going to go at it on the feet. And with Grasso giving the plus money, having the experience of being a former champion, Shevchenko's fighting on the card. She's motivated to want to get back there, seeing, what's going to happen. I like Grasso. I think this is a proper push up for Silva. I love the matchmaking in this fight. I just think Grasso is going to have the edge on the feet. I think she's going to want it more. And when it comes to that third round, I think she's going to be able to push a little harder and knows what it takes to get a win here. Wouldn't be surprised if Silva wins at all, because I think she's elite level, and this is where she belongs. Yeah, but give me the former champ. Give me Alexa Grasso at the plus money.
Yeah, nice handicap, and I like the angle of competing on the card on which Shevchenko is fighting Manon, right? She's going to, I think, have no choice but to fight like a bat out of hell, Ken Flo, against Silva, who is the favorite, who is the younger fighter, who has won 12 in a row, 28 years of age, out of Minas Gerais, Brazil. She is 6-0 in the UFC, and now taking on the former champion, Alexa Grasso.
I think there's some good value for Grasso right now, especially given the fact that, she has had a couple of really tough fights, right? She's taken on Shevchenko. However, in going back and watching a lot of Natalia Silva's fights, this is not your everyday striker, in my opinion. I think she just might be the best striker in that division. Yes, that includes Shevchenko. I think she's that good. Her speed is something else. The way that she puts together her combinations, her footwork, her takedown defense, I think will come into play here against Grasso, because I think she's the better striker here. I think Grasso is going to try to put her on her back. Grasso has a much better chance there against Silva if Silva's on her back, but I think Silva's athletic enough to stop those takedowns. Grasso's takedowns isn't necessarily her strength. I like Natalia Silva here, and I like her big, and I think she may have the belt in the future as well. Wow. I think she's that good.
High praise.
Ken Flo bullish on Natalia Silva.
praise.
You're right. Power, speed, technique. She is the total package and trying to prove it to the world. But Johnny Avello and the odds makers certainly paying attention. All right, right back to Ken Flo here for a featured bout in the bantamweight division. Jose Aldo, minus 218. Ayman Zahabi, plus 180. Little background for you. Ken Flo doesn't need it. Aldo inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame class of 2023, returned to competition less than a year later, win over Jonathan Martinez, then lost to Mario Bautista, UFC 307 last October. Now, Kenny, he gets your former teammate, Ayman Zahabi in the Great White North, who was prominent in your preparation for Jose Aldo, whom you fought for the UFC featherweight title in your retirement fight in 2011. I know you will be eyes peeled for Aldo v. Zahabi. Forced to make a pick. Who do you like?
Yeah, well, I love watching Jose Aldo fight. He's such a technician, and I'm really proud of Ayman Zahabi, who, as you mentioned, I trained with back a long time ago, and I think this is an awesome opportunity for him to face a real mixed martial arts legend in Jose Aldo, and this is going to be a tough fight for both guys. I think that Jose Aldo at times has struggled later in fights, especially when a fast pace has been kept up by his opponent, and I also think you need to be able to take away that space against Jose Aldo. That's no easy task, especially when he's kicking well and when he's establishing that very educated jab that he has. So for Ayman, I think it's a winnable fight, but the paths to victory for Ayman are all very difficult roads. So I think he's going to have to use everything in order to do it, but I think he will find a way. I think Zahabi's pressure, the fact that he has a lot of power and could hurt Jose Aldo, and the fact that he doesn't have as many miles as Jose Aldo right now. So give me Ayman Zahabi for the win.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Nicely laid out, Ken Flo. Aldo will be 39 in September. Zahabi's only about a year younger, but the MMA miles tell a different story. Bri, Zahabi's won 5 in a row, dating to a 2019 loss to Vince Morales, all serving to set up the biggest fight of his career. How do you think he handles the spotlight?
Yeah, so when you first see these guys lined up, my first instinct is, wow, Jose Aldo is pretty good value here. Jose Aldo is Jose Aldo, right? And I feel like a lot of people think that, but when you take a deeper look in, and of course I do, and it's funny when I went and really capped Zahabi here, I found a couple old videos on YouTube, some bits that they did where they're like treating Kenny like a king, and they're like, oh, Kenny lets us sleep here, and there's like 15 guys to a room, and this is Kenny's private room, this is his other room, he likes to change in this room. Kenny, do you remember filming all that stuff? It was like, I caught that. It was funny. It was preparation of Kenny getting ready for Aldo, and it's cool seeing Ayman now in that spot, and I think he's got one of the greatest minds in his brother to prepare him for this. That's the thing about Jose Aldo is guys like Ayman have been getting Kenny ready for it, and he's been dreaming about fighting a guy like Aldo, and Aldo's going to have that with everybody he fights. So they know what they want to do. It's just a matter of, are they going to show up, and is their body going to allow them to do that? Right. And I think Ayman looked really good. I think the one thing I would critique about him going throughout his career, except his last fight, was the volume just wasn't there for me. He landed 100 strikes against Pedro Munoz and was in the firefight most of the time. And he's slick when he gets in there, and he was landing a lot of strikes. With Aldo, I think that's what you got to do. You have to hit Aldo. You have to keep constantly hitting him and outstrike him. You can't stare at him and be in awe, get your legs kick off. That's going to be a problem. Grappling, I think, is going to be neutral. I like Zahabi here as well. I knew Kenny was going to kind of maybe lean towards Zahabi. I want to get away from that. I want to give the people maybe something else to pick if they're riding Kenny or me. But I'm on Zahabi. I think it's a great number. I think the guy's going to get it done with it by a decision as well. I think it's going to be a good fight, but I think ultimately he's going to have a game plan. He's going to have the skills to be able to confuse and frustrate Jose Aldo and outpoint him in this spot.
All right, co-main event, Women's Flyweight Championship. We list betting favorites first. Challenger Manon Fior, minus 155. Valentina Shevchenko, plus 130. The long overdue French beast finally getting her crack at the gold. She's 7-0 in the UFC, Bry. Debuted with a stoppage of Victoria Leonardo in 2021. Hasn't stopped winning since. Now undeniable. We'll see what she has for the future Hall of Famer this weekend. Who do you like?
Yeah, I've been a fan of Manon for a long time. I've uttered the word she'll be a champion one day, and I think that one day is Saturday. I think she's going to win here. Shevchenko, there's no knock on Shevchenko. I think she's fantastic, but what Shevchenko is doing now in her career is kind of slowing it down for herself, taking some of the striking opportunities away and getting the fight to the ground. She's a big, strong girl for that division. Enter Manon, who is bigger and stronger, in my opinion, after what she did to Erin Blanchfield, who I know might be a tad undersized, but is a physically strong grappler, chucking her left and right, wasn't even entertaining that, and outworked her and outpointed her and beat her up on the feet. You got two fantastic strikers who have learned to grapple really well, and I just think Manon has the better strength, and I think she might be a little bit more potent on the feet as well when it comes to the striking, especially with the hands. I think Valentina's got some really good kicks. I think Manon's got some really good hands. I think that's going to make the difference here. I won't even be surprised if Manon gets a finish in this spot. That's something I might be looking for later in the week when the props open up. But for right now, I think it's and new, baby. I think Manon Fiorot's going to get it done.
Campo, I'm calling the fight, but after what I saw at Sphere last September, I don't know that I would be bullish about walking to a window to put down my hard-earned money against Valentina. I thought she turn back the clock and look great. How do you handicap her chances to spring the upset and retain her title?
Yeah, I get a lot of what Brian's saying. I think Manon is very impressive. I think that she has a unique striking style that is difficult for a lot of people to deal with. You know, that karate style, that in and out, kind of land some strikes, disappear, that blitz out of nowhere. Could be a handful for a lot of fighters. But Shevchenko isn't just a lot of fighters. I think that she proved herself, worthy of that belt when she came back to beat Grasso, as John mentioned. And I think the way that she went about it showed that she's a sophisticated operator. She knows how to execute in game plans. She knows how to fix her mistakes. And in order to do that, you need to have that passion. You need to have that hunger. Someone who's not hungry doesn't really care about improving their game. And I think for Shevchenko, I thought that was a really good sign that she still wants in this game. She still loves to fight. And because of that, I like Shevchenko here. It's rare that you're going to see Shevchenko in this underdog spot, especially against someone who's no doubt a great fighter, but she hasn't proven herself enough to me. And I think, yes, that Blanchfield win was huge, Brian, no question. But Blanchfield isn't necessarily known as having the best takedown game. I think Shevchenko has better takedowns. So I think if Blanchfield can't get you to the ground, then anyone almost in that division has a good shot. Why? Because Blanchfield's tough, but she's not a great striker. And I think that, Shevchenko is a very different fighter than Erin Blanchfield. I like Shevchenko here. I'm going to take it.
Ooh. And you're right, man. Like desperately hungry going into that Grasso trilogy fight. All right. Main event for the undisputed welterweight championship. First title defense for Belal Muhammad, a modest 238 favorite on DraftKings Sportsbook here early during fight week. Jack Della Maddalena comes back plus 195. So Muhammad nearly defended the belts in short order against Shavkat Rakhmonov last year. Life-threatening foot infection got in the way of that. And now Shavkat tore meniscus, unable to make the walk. It'll be Jack Della Maddalena, who is 7-0 in the UFC. Brian Petrie.
Yes.
Belal Muhammad or Jack Della Maddalena, as you have coined him, three-name Jack.
Three-name Jack. Listen. Let's full train. We all see the comments. We see the comments. You guys suck Belal's dick every episode. Quit talking about Belal. We see what you guys are saying. But the point being is, right, and I'm probably not as close with Belal as obviously most of these guys. We're friendly. I like Belal. We've met, yada, yada. But he's the best in the division for a reason. He's the champion for a reason. Put all your hate aside. Look at what the guy has done. End of story. So no bias going in his breakdown. If anything, I've glazed Jack Della more than Belal. That's my guy. I've been three-name Jack. I've been all over. I've never picked against him. This is a fun fight. This is a really good fight. And it's interesting because Jack has posted some things on social media where he brought in Craig Jones, who's a world-renowned grappler. He's Alexander Volkanovski's grappling coach, and Jack Della choked him out flat out with the darts. And they've been showing that. Was that real? Who knows? We're hyping up a fight. I'm not saying he's going to check out Belal, but clearly he's working his ground game. And that's the one thing that's the big question, because you go back to the Hafez fight. You go back to the Basil Hafez fight, and you're like, oh, there's a lot of opportunities there that Jack really kind of squandered. You know, Basil was exhausted, and all you had to do was punch a little more, and he engaged in the grappling where he kept getting reversed, and there's a lot of issues with that. Yes, that was a while ago, but then the fight IQ has gotten better since then. Jack in the pocket is money. His boxing in the pocket is nasty. It is beautiful combinations. He can just throw one punch. He can pot shot you if he wants. He can do combinations. You have to be very careful in the pocket because he is willing to exchange. He is willing to take a hit to give a hit.
Yeah.
That's what he's willing to do. He's willing to put himself in the fire. Then you got a guy like Belal who a lot of people go, oh, Canelo hands and this and that for whatever reason. But if you look at Belal, his hands have gotten so much drastically better with his own style. He's a big, thick dude, but it's not necessarily pity pat, but it's to put you in your face. I'm putting something out there in your face, almost Nick Diaz Allah. Maybe I'll throw an overhand, that's power, and then I'm going for a double and I'm putting you on your fucking head. No one can stop it. And I said this years ago before Belal was a champion. He had the best cardio in the division. He barely broke a sweat with Leon, and Leon won, or maybe not won, but came back in that fight. And I think Belal lost focus. This fight, you're not losing focus. You're the champ now. You got that strap. You got to go a hard 5, and you got to put this guy away, or at least try to, right? Easier said than done when you got a guy like Jack. But Belal's the boogeyman for a lot of people in this division. This is a tough matchup for anybody. And it's even a really bad matchup for, I think, a guy like 3-name Jack. I think this is going to be a problem. I think Belal's grappling's head and shoulders above. I think Jack thinks he's going to get away with a lot of striking in the pocket because Belal does close distance. He's not the tallest guy at 170, so he will be in your face and closing distance. So Jack probably thinks I can get my strikes off there. But the minute you think that, it's the minute you're getting put on your back. And Belal's heavy on top. He's powerful. He doesn't stop. He's going to try to break you with his cardio. And God, he is so motivated for this fight. You know what I mean? He wants to be an active champion. That foot thing really fucked him up. He's chomping at the bit to get in there. And I just don't think there's anybody better in the world at 170 pounds than Belal Muhammad. I like him to win this fight. Probably a 50-45 because Jack's tough. I don't see him getting him out of there, but I would love a finish. But Jack will be back one day. But give me Belal. Remember the name, Muhammad.
All right, Kenflo, the floor is yours. Della Maddalena returning for the first time since UFC 299, a round 3 TKO of Gilbert Burns more than a year ago. At one point, he was going to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov, but the calendar is aligned for 3-name Jack. Your thoughts on him against Belal in the title fight this weekend?
Very interesting matchup. Jack Della Maddalena is a fantastic striker, particularly because his counter striking is elite. Now, the problem with that is Belal doesn't really throw a lot of things where he throws himself off balance, where he's throwing wide shots. It's a lot of like crisp, quick shots in and out to set up takedowns, to set up kicks at different ranges. So I think that flick jab in particular that he has been developing should come into play a lot here because it's a very difficult strike to counter, like to slip and get on the inside where Jack Della Maddalena wants to be. It becomes very, very difficult to do that. So I think that alone, the striking style of Belal can be a problem. JDM certainly has knockout power. He's got the speed. He has the slickness. What I've noticed is sometimes it can take him a little bit to get going, similar to the Gilbert Burns fight. But I asked Belal about that fight because I think there's a lot for Belal to kind of build off of. I think Burns got really tired in that fight. I think he got a little frustrated in that fight. Belal doesn't get tired and he doesn't get frustrated. He just moves forward. He stays very present during the fight. He's got the championship belt, but he has the championship mindset. No question about it. And I think that all this experience that he's been accruing just to get to the belt has served him extremely well. It's only battle hardened him that much more. And proven that he's really is pretty anti-fragile. So JDM, I'm still waiting I kind of wanted to get more intel on him, on just how good he is. Now, he may be good enough to beat someone like Belal Muhammad. I just haven't seen it quite yet. So with that, I think this is going to be a good performance for Belal, and I think he wins this fight.
A lot of big things coming up during this fight week for UFC 315. Very excited to bring it all to you. But right now, our final act is Place Your Bets, brought to you by JohnAnik.com, where you can get 15% off your Anik and Florian podcast merchandise order with promo code One More Sleep. All right. So my math suggests that Kenny Florian has a lead of about $6,391.39. He is in the plus by $846. I'll be handling the math from now on, boys, so you don't need to worry about it. Bri, your figure is minus 5,545 and 39 cents, right?
That's correct. Yeah, when I sent that to you today, John, my phone threw up. It threw up right in my hand. So that
I know why you're. It's only because I haven't been the one tracking the math. It's all going to turn around right now. You got $3,000 to spend for a pay-per-view. Have at it, Brian Petrie. Who do you love?
So I'm not picking a great year. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses. But the 3K that I lost in Cody Steele was big. But you got to take big swings when you're down big. So I was going to put all 3K on Belal Muhammad, but I'm gonna half it. Give me 1,500 on the champ, 1,500 Muhammad, and then give me another 1,500 on Manon. I just think Manon is primed to win here. Shocked she's that high of a number. I was hoping we're getting plus money. And listen, plus money off Shevchenko is incredible. But I have a real good feeling that Manon's going to be in new. So, give me those. 1,500 on each of those, babe.
And it almost feels like if there's a better number that exists than minus 155, you should get it. But
for sure.
You're locking it in minus 155 today. Ken Flo, $3,000 at your disposal. Who do you love?
I would like to put $1,000 on Natalia Silva.
Yeah, I love that.
And this is where things get interesting, Brian.
Here we go.
Things are going to change after this. All right. I want to put $1,500 on Shevchenko.
Woo, buddy.
Yeah, there might be a big swing here.
Yeah.
And then the remaining $500, I'm going to put it on one Belal Muhammad.
Nicely done.
Go. Love it, bub.
All right. Hey, Bri, I'll leave you with this. You know, the reason why you are so great, well, there are many, right? But the fact that you brought that Ken Flo Amin Zahabi nugget to the table today, the fact that you came across that in your research, you know, reminds me a little bit of myself back in the day, that maybe that would have been something that would have come across my wake. But the fact that you came across that and brought it to our listeners is fucking amazing. And I applaud you for doing that. So
go watch it. It's great. You get a Ken Flo he's a fucking king in the gym, baby. I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate the Sunday night tickle. We'll talk to you next Monday. Okay.
All right, boys. Have a show, John. I'll see you, boys.
Thank you, buddy. At Brian Petrie MMA on X. You can follow his MMA Takes podcast as well. All right. Thanks to the champ Belal Muhammad. Thanks to Ray Longo and Brian Petrie and Jason Anik and the great Cody Merrow for putting it all together. We look forward to seeing you all live on pay-per-view this Saturday night. And Ken Flo and I will be back to recap it for you, I believe, in our usual slot live on Monday. Don't forget to check out KennyFlorian.com for your jiu-jitsu essentials, JohnAnik.com for your merchandise needs, and download the John Anik app as well. We will have a free exclusive chat coming up this Thursday during Fight Week. Thank you all for being here live. For Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. We'll talk to you in 6 or 7 days. Until then, have a great fight week. You'll later.
I love this shit.